Welcome, everybody. This is the first inaugural Unfair Advantage podcast produced by Audi Club. I am George Achorn. I am the editor of Quattro magazine and do a lot of content for Club. And I'm here with Bill Cho.
Hello, I'm the communications and events manager for Audi Club North America.
We wanted to start a podcast for Audi enthusiasts. Obviously, the Audi Club... Are you kidding me? Really? Police car. We're recording here today in our offices in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And the challenge to this is we are located right on the main street, which is Chocolate Avenue. Makes sense in Hershey, Pennsylvania, I guess. But so if there's a speed trap, which they usually don't run up the street, but sometimes they do, we will get sounds from the street, namely sirens, which you just probably heard. We also have really great new neighbors who are a landscaping company who like to split wood all day. And they're not doing that currently, but Murphy's Law says they will turn their wood splitter on at some point, and we'll get some background noise from that too. So these are some of the little things we're having to deal with as we start to try to do this. But as I said, we're trying to create a podcast for Audi enthusiasts. We're using Audi Club as the launch point here. We're using the Unfair Advantage name, just like the email newsletter that goes out from Audi Club. And so this will be for a lot of Audi Club information, but it's not just going to be limited to that, because frankly, that's a little bit in the weeds and narrow focus. And we're trying to keep this more for everybody out there who are Audi enthusiasts. We've been looking at great like automotive podcasts, like what Matt Farah does with the Smoking Tire, what Spike Ferriston does. Just some really cool things going on right now in the world of podcasting and automotive content. And so we're looking to add to that with this kind of Audi-focused show. So that's a long way around.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So what we're going to try and do today is focus more on events. That's one of the reasons Bill's sitting across the table from me. Bill is, as he mentioned, does events for Audi Club, and we wanted to just try to walk through the wealth of events we've got to deal with this year. There's a ton of stuff, both on the club's calendar, but also on the general enthusiast calendar, racing, etc. And so we thought we'd walk through the 2019 schedule with that. And I believe, Bill, if I'm not mistaken, the first event is
Couple of weeks.
Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona, right?
Yes, it is. That's the end of that's January 25th to 27th, at least.
Yeah, as we sit here right now, today is the 16th.
16th, yeah.
And so at the moment, we've got the Detroit Auto Show going on. So Public Days will be opening up. We don't have currently, the Michigan chapter isn't going to be attending that on their own this year. So, but if you're a car enthusiast and this is out quickly enough, that may be relevant. Also going on right now is Barrett-Jackson and the other Arizona auctions. Not much going on out there. We've got a couple R8s that I saw. I think Barrett-Jackson had. But other than that, there's not a lot of Audi content at this moment, but might be interesting to car enthusiasts. And then we also just had the Roar before the 24th. So any year you're talking about events, it starts out early. And those events are already either past or going on as we speak. And then not this coming weekend, but the following weekend is the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. I am going to that at kind of late edition. Audi does do the Audi Motorsport experience there, so it's hospitality at the track. It's multi-days. It's 24 hours of racing, but a whole weekend of on track, whether that's the IMSA series doing whatever practices and qualifying sessions they have, whether that's the feeder series where we have R8 GT4s and RS3 LMS on track for the feeder series, which is now known as the Michelin Sports Car Series, official name, but Michelin's the new sponsor for that feeds into IMSA. And then, of course, we have several R8 LMS GT3s racing in the big show, the 24-hour race. So you may see me down there. I'm going to go down and hit that. I've got to go to Florida anyway, and so I'll probably crash it and see a bunch of Audi enthusiasts. I know we get a lot of regulars down there. There's also an Audi Corral there if you are on hospitality. Audi collection shows in the vendor area, so it's fun to hit if you're in the Florida area. It's one not to miss.
Next on the schedule, we have some chapter events going on. February 9th, our Glacier Lakes chapter, which is based out of Minnesota, they're doing an ice driving school on Prairie Lake in Minnesota. And talking with them, it seems like they're having some decent weather, so
cold enough that the lake will hold the weight of cars.
Exactly. I mean, I know we had another chapter I think it was the Northeast chapter, just had to cancel one of theirs. Oh no, it was the Wisconsin chapter had to cancel one of theirs because they had unseasonably warm weather.
Have you attended one of these?
No, I really do want to try one though. So
Yeah, I have not either. But the little I know, for those who have not attended one, is it's like a driving school.
it is a driving school.
But it's on a frozen lake, which is one of the wonders of mainly the Midwest. Although I think our New York chapter, which is called Northeast Quattro or NEQ, also schedules a few. I don't know that it's been cold enough for those guys, but I know they have some scheduled. We'll probably get to those.
So, like I said, that's February 9th, Glacier Lakes. You can go onto their website, the chapter website, just type in Audi Club, Glacier Lakes, and I don't know exactly when the sign up was over for that, but it should still be open.
A lot of the Audi Club events, registration happens on motorsportreg.com, so
Yes.
motorsportreg.com, and I think that's pretty standard across a lot of car enthusiast clubs and organizations and whatever. I know I just signed up for one for Porsche Club on there too. So
Right. I mean, it's just an easy website, and they've been using it for years.
yeah,
For example, on the 24th in February, our Northwest chapter out of the Washington State area, they're having a high performance driver education, which I'm going to now abbreviate to HPDE. They
yes.
call theirs.
So that just to
Yeah.
qualify that, if you're in Audi Club, you know what HPD is because it's something that's kind of entrenched. But for the audience that's not a regular Audi Club or other clubs, because I think it's a pretty universal term, high performance driving events. It's a driving school usually
With
at a track
instructors. Yeah.
with instructors, right? So you'll get instruction on how to drive your car in a high performance way, generally on an enclosed track. You might equate.
They're having theirs at the Evergreen Speedway,
Right.
and they call this particular event University of Quattro.
Okay.
It's the Pacific Northwest. Those guys like to name their driving event.
So next event is North Atlantic. That would be, we just did Northwest, yeah?
Yep, Northwest. So that's the 24th. This is now.
Then
Now we're on the other side of the country, what we call the North Atlantic region or our chapter.
so it's New England generally, with the exception of New York. And anyway, let's see here. North Atlantic chapter is doing winter driving school in Dalton, New Hampshire.
Dalton, New Hampshire, exactly. I know their registration is open for theirs.
Again, that's on the ice on a lake if it's cold enough, and I believe it has. I've not heard any concerns from them on that.
No,
but
in fact, most of their stuff they send for me. So especially if they're going to cancel something,
yeah, we'll know.
we'll find out.
So yeah, we're going on what we know of the calendar. If you're interested in any of these events, do please check in with the chapter for more, especially these ice driving events. They don't happen if a lake's not frozen enough. So so you don't want your car in a lake, neither do we. And so definitely check in with those chapters. Okay, so we have one more in February. That would be another ice driving school. This one in Glacier Lakes.
Yep. So they're running 2 ice driving schools in the month of February. So this is the end of February, the 27th. Glacier Lakes, which is our chapter based in Minnesota again, is having another ice driving school once again at Prairie Lake, which I would find fascinating to do. I know I've been invited. I don't know if I can go, but it would be thrilling to drive on the ice, to learn how to drive on the ice actually. I've never done that before.
It's all about throwing the weight around. I did it one year with Audi Sport,
Did you?
some driving experience somewhere in Europe. Well, to jump back at the moment,
Oh, that's right.
the group is over at Seefeld in Austria,
Austria.
which is an annual event. It's produced by Audi. Hey, can you move your computer out of the way, just so you're not blocked from the sound? It's an annual event done by Audi Driving Experience in Europe. So
Yes.
they've got a group that you sign up ahead of time. It usually sells out. I think this year they had a couple cancellations, so a few people.
Last minute cancellations due to health problems, but
Yeah, we're able to get on late. That opened up some opportunity for some folks who hadn't signed up. Normally it's sold out, and you go over first. You do a tour of like Neustadt, which is Audi Sport. You do Ingolstadt. You fly to Munich, and then you go down to Austria for.
exactly. In fact, they were at Neuberg driving on the Audi Sport facility out there, driving R8s on. Well, they were getting rides, I should say, on the track out there in R8s, and then they moved over to. In fact, I think they're just finishing up today. I believe it's the last day
in Seefeld.
in Seefeld. Yes.
So it looks like some of the photos on social media that we're seeing, Facebook and such, from folks who were over there, looks like Frank Bielow's hanging out with them a lot of
Yes,
the time. I guess he
he
was
is.
kind of signed to their group, and they got some record snow for what that's worth. So.
Yes, I mean, we heard that they had the largest snowfall they've had in 20 years. Was this weekend or this week for our winter driving experience?
Looked like everybody was driving like this Sonoma Green RS5. Looks like a fun car to have on the ice. Looked like one of those cars in the shop. Don't know whose it was, but it was all stuffed with snow in the front grille, so it might have nosed into one of those snow piles. But anyway, that is a great way if you want to start ice driving experience. You know, of course, these chapter events are great, and they're domestic. You don't have to fly to Europe for them. But this is a great time of year also to go over and do that. And that is an annual thing. Audi Club does that every year. And most everybody who's gone is like, we got to get back to this thing.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
I mean, it's a fun event. They're starting to send me videos and photos of it, so we'll have some up on our website shortly.
Yeah. And that is great. That's all instruction. Really quickly, that's all instruction by Audi Sports trained, drivers. I did one. The one I did was in Italy, and it was a temporary one set up for journalists at the time. But it was still a really great way to kind of learn to. You really see a pronounced dynamic on the car on ice. But anyway, moving along. Next is looks like early
March.
Early in March, you've got Amelia Island, which is So we went last year for the first time. It was an exploratory thing. There was a Hork for sale, I believe, at Gooding last year. Amelia Island, for those who don't know, it's sort of like Monterey Monterey Light, or Monterey, like Monterey may have been years ago, but it's not quite as. It's a weekend that's the main show is the Amelia Island Concours, and then there's the RM auction, RM Sotheby's, that happens there on site.
Right at the hotel.
It's both automobilia and it's cars for sale, and then there's also there are a lot of seminars and things that happen. There are vendors that sell car stuff or things for people in the car hobby, and then there are seminars. We went to one that was all IMSA GT, like a driver panel. So Hurley Haywood would have been the significant Audi player on that one. He was there in the '89 and 88 and '89 Trans Am and IMSA GTO. So we got to meet up with Hurley, got him to sign his book, which was kind of nerdy, but really enjoyed it, and that helped us get the interview for the magazine.
Yes, it did.
With Hurley.
So I think that was summer 2018 issue.
And then also that weekend, there are several auctions around Amelia Island. There is RM at the hotel. There's Gooding, and then there was another one. I don't think we stopped in. I didn't recognize the name of the auction company, but last year Gooding had the Hork. I believe this year that Hork Cabriolet is coming back and being sold at RM Sotheby's, so at the hotel this year. And then I've heard a rumor that there may be a Sport Quattro that comes onto the market, and it goes in through one of I would expect either Gooding or RM will have it. I think I saw somebody talking about it on Facebook. It looks like they may have involved in the photo shoot and getting it prepped. So hope to see a Sport Quattro in the mix at one of these auctions this year, probably at Amelia based on what he said.
That would be cool.
Yeah. And then otherwise, Amelia, as we saw last year, is a really neat concours and very creative. We saw a lot of Ducatis. There were really interesting classes that were like Martini race cars was one class, all Martinis, which was
a lovely display.
Jerry Seinfeld's 935 and John Champion, I believe, who has he has one of every Lancia Martini car ever raced. And then there was another 917, and then there was another 911 RSR. So kind of Porsche on Lancia, Rich for Martini. They never ran on an Audi. And, other more creative hunting trucks, right? That was spectacular. But yeah, I didn't really realize King Ranch was a place. I thought it was just a Ford F-150, but it was named after an actual ranch, so there's some pretty cool hunting trucks back in the day. But anyway, there were no Audis other than the B5 RS4 we saw in the parking lot.
Yeah, it wasn't on display. It was just in
the media parking lot. But so God love whoever was driving the B5 RS4. Props to you, man. But beyond that, it was still a wonderful event, even if there weren't any Audis in that particular. And it's a shame because factory-wise, BMW Classic is there.
Oh, that's right.
Porsche Classic is there.
A new power series.
I guess Porsche calls their Classic division Porsche Classic. And Mercedes was there both with the new G-Wagon and their vintage stuff.
Exactly. And Porsche had their Works Reunion there.
Yeah, and Porsche had the 911T jump. Well, that was totally separate. Works Reunion is Porsche Club. But I mean, that can move us on out of all I was getting at with the Amelia Island Concours is that even though there weren't really any Audis to see in that, it was definitely worth the visit. It is the main show of the week, and it is very eclectic and very cool and a lot of fun. But also that weekend, like Monterey, you have other events, two mainly, and one is Porsche Club's work reunion.
Yep.
We ran into a couple Audi Club members, chapter guys there from the Carolinas, and
Talking about you, Dale.
yeah, talking about you, Dale. But anyway, we ran into Dale there. We ran into our friends from Pirelli. It's a very cool event. It's hard not to like Porsche, even if you're not a Porsche nut. But I think that speaks to a great opportunity there for Audi Club. I think eventually we'd love to work with, like the BMW. We do Legends of the Autobahn at Monterey that we'll get to, but it'd be great to do an event down there. This year we're thinking about. This is very much the planning stages.
Very much planning stage.
Yeah. So
we've contacted the organizers of an event down there during this week called Festivals of Speed, which last year they had a small Audi presence. There was an Audi dealership out there, I believe an RS3 and maybe a TTRS, and then it looked like there was a privately owned R8 that was out there.
yeah.
So I know they also they had to change the schedule around because of rain was threatening the main Concours day, so they moved that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the main Concours got moved to Sunday right against Festivals of Speed. That probably wasn't easy for them.
Yeah, it probably wasn't easy for them at all. So,
but they had a really eclectic mix there. They had, I remember Chuck Beck, the guy who does the kit cars, right?
Yes,
he had a Lamborghini V12 powered motorcycle.
That's right.
On display. So some really, and he was sitting there smoking a cigar, hanging out by the. God love Chuck Beck. But yeah, it's a really neat event, small event. It's at the same. I can't remember the name of the country club where
Works
I think Gooding is there as well. But yeah, Porsche Works Reunion was there. The previous, I think they were there on Friday, and then so Sunday was supposed to be Festival of Speed. Saturday was supposed to be, and barring any weather would be again this year would be the
exactly
Amelia Island Concours. But Festivals of Speed is a little bit more like boats and it's nothing to do with Festival of Speed in the UK. The festivals, I guess that's slightly different.
Yep.
And it's a series of Floridian events. So, they do primarily supercar. I think I just saw, for those people interested in the e-tron GT, that won't be there. But I just saw some PR come across from Festivals of Speed saying the Porsche Taycan will be there, which is the chassis platform mate as the e-tron GT. Now, that said, based on the picture and based on the fact that Porsche hasn't actually shown a production Taycan yet, I'm going to go with it's the Mission E concept car, which has made the rounds at quite a few places, but still pretty neat to see. And so we're working with them, right, I know they've put in a special request to see if we can get some R8s out there.
Yeah, so we've also, they've asked us for, see if there's any R8s out there, and we've approached our Florida group, Florida chapter, Georgia chapter, our Deep South chapter, which is Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. And then our Georgia chapter, obviously.
The Carolinas.
Oh, and did I say Carolina? Okay,
you said Georgia twice.
I did say Georgia twice. Okay, I meant the Carolinas, where we saw Dale. So we reached out to them to see if we can get several R8s out there. Now, and Festival of Speeds also has events going throughout the year.
Yeah.
Essentially, and we'll get to those later on.
And this is still coming together, right? Like we've just initially made contact with Festivals of Speed, so we're trying to make that happen. It looks like it'll be open to all, but they emphasize the fact that they are an exotics show, and so while it was open to all last year too, I think that's what they'd like to put a special request in for R8 owners. So we'll see what comes together there. Keep in touch with the club on that one if you want to know what's going on, but even if you don't, Amelia Island, you really ought to check it out.
You really should check out Amelia Island.
So after that, we come back to DC. Looks like Potomac's having, or Potomac chapter, which is DC.
Potomac Chesapeake chapter, which is our DC, West Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, those guys. They're having once again an HPD out at Summit Point on the 15th and 16th.
Cool old East Coast track, a little bit of Audi history there. I think Audi's first win came there.
That's right. And that was this year.
They pointed that out to us in that last meeting.
So like an anniversary.
I don't just know that off the top of my head.
Oh, I don't know, George. I would
so thanks to Ryan Compton for that. Gold star for you. But anyway, so that is true. I don't know how many years ago, but it's the anniversary of the win, I think.
30.
Hans Stuck in the IMSA. Anyway, super nerdy. And then after that, we've got looks like the same weekend, the 12 Hours of Sebring. Now that's worth mentioning there for a couple of things, drawing the lines here. One is the 12 Hours of Sebring is always a good race. It's IMSA usually, and that means same as Daytona. So RE GT3s in IMSA, and then the feeder Michelin series, we've got RE GT4s and RS3 LMS. And then this year is also the super season, so we've got the FIA WEC. Audi's not racing R18s anymore in LMP1, and the R8s don't compete in GT. But it still makes a bigger spectacle, bigger racing weekend to go. And critically, a week away from Amelia Island, which is just up the road. They're up near the Florida-Georgia line. This is down in Sebring, but not more than probably 2 hours, a little bit more.
Yeah, 2-3 hour drive,
between the two. And you could spend the week down there and go to a couple days to Disney or something in between and spend the week in Florida.
Exactly. And you've got to go to Sebring. I mean, it's a historic...
I don't know if Audi Motorsport Experience is going to have hospitality there yet. I've been reaching out to Andy Sattler, who does an amazing job at these races where he goes, but it depends on where Audi decides they want to throw their support each year. And so I don't know at this time where we are in Sebring with hospitality. But even if Audi is not there with hospitality, it's a really fun event.
Oh my God, it is.
Yeah. Rednecks and college kids and like really, really eclectic mix of people and a lot of fun. A big old party.
Because it's spring break.
Yeah. Stay out of Green Park. That's where the craziness goes down. Although I think they've shut down the brothels and everything else that happens.
Brothel?
No, literally. There was a sheriff. There was literally a sheriff who ran his platform in whatever county Sebring is in, was to shut down the brothel that happens in Green Park.
Okay, well he definitely must have shut them down before I went down there my first time in 2012.
Yeah.
Because
the first Sebring I just said, they said stay out of Green Park. It's the part where you go to that goofy little bridge that goes over the track. Right?
Yeah, we were warned not to take our golf courts.
Yeah, they don't like corporate types over there. Is exactly what I was told. So take off your branded gear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
anyway, we should probably move on from Sebring.
Yep. So, I mean, the next event we're going to talk about was literally just sent to me by the president of the Florida chapter, Gerald Sims down there. It's called Caffeine and Octane at the Beach, which is on Jekyll Island in Georgia. And you remember, that's where Southern Soul Barbecue is.
Oh, yeah, so just north of where...
Just north of the...
Well, that's that Sebring weekend, too. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like everything's happening.
So the weekend after, and that's probably right up in the same neighborhood as me on the island.
Exactly. I mean, it's Jekyll Island's just a little bit north on the coast of...
So the Florida chapter and the Georgia chapter may be involved in that one.
Exactly. I mean, they know... I know, well, Gerald had sent me that email saying that he couldn't make it last year because of business, but they're thinking of sending a contingent up there. So it's something new that... like I said, it was just sent to me.
So this isn't something Audi Club is producing. This is
something it's been going on for several years at this point.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm not just fake interviewing Bill on this one. Some of these I don't know genuinely. I've never heard of. Yeah. And so I'm trying to get the background on this, but it's a general event. Could be everything, but Audi Club may go.
Exactly.
Okay.
Muscle cars, supercars, street cars, anything there. So
moving along, because I don't know how far we are into this, but
so,
I know we're only into April.
So
or not even April.
We're gonna on the 24th of March, we're gonna flip over to the other side of the country. We're going back to the Pacific Northwest. They're holding their HPDE, which they call the Son of Quattro Fest.
That sounds pretty. I don't know who the father is, but
well, we may find out. I think the father shows up later on.
Why
in the
not
year.
daughter? They were really at National last year. They wanted Ashley. They were all about the women's program. This is daughter of Quattro Fest.
Well, maybe they're gonna have another one then.
That's super nerdy. But anyway, Ridge Motorsport Park, cool track.
It is a cool track.
That's the one they did for National, yeah.
Yes, that's the one that we did for National, and that's one that Ashley Freiberger was driving. A couple of lucky winners in our raffle. They raffled off a couple drives around.
A lot of elevation changes there. It'll come back. It's just my crappy equipment.
Yes.
Don't worry about that.
Oh yeah, there is a lot of elevation.
This is a super old. For those who can't see, because this is radio-ish, that we have a big old screen here that we're displaying and watching our events calendar on, because we don't have all this just right at the tip of our tongue. But it's an old VGA monitor it's huge, but it's, if you can imagine, it's not even SVGA or Super VGA. It's just VGA. And so I have it with Kluge hook up with Apple TV unit, and so every 10 minutes, whatever it is, it just goes, I can't do this anymore. And it goes flat.
I bet it's super heavy too, just by looking at it.
So they left it with the building. It stayed.
Oh, well, that's nice. So what's for me?
Who knows? It's vintage. That's what
vintage.
it is.
Okay.
Anyway.
April. Let's move to April.
So back at Potomac and VIR. They're doing an HPD at VIR.
Yes, they are doing an HPD.
If you're into cars and you don't know how awesome VIR is, it's Southern. Then shame on you if you don't. But anyway, it's down on the North Carolina line, and so not a lot of hotels down there. But really, that's where car and driver does lightning lap down there.
Yes, they do.
It's a badass track. So.
I have never been there.
Neither have I.
Really?
I know.
Wow.
I was just shaming people for not knowing what it is,
But
and you and I have never been there.
Well, I mean, with me not being there, I can understand. But
Yeah.
I could have sworn you've been to.
No, they do like IMSA races down there, I think, and I know like that's Audi's home race, so like you get a lot of corporate folks down there. But I've never had, for whatever reason, scheduling's never worked out.
Really?
Whatever.
You've been all over the
I
place.
think they limit it to GT cars too, which is even better because then
Right.
you're not dealing with the LMPs. Oh, can I jump back to Daytona? Because we
Okay.
talked about this the other day.
Oh, we did.
We initially
Yes.
recorded this, so most of this, the other night from the car. So good for you. You guys don't have to deal with all the background noise in my car. But at the same time, we didn't touch on this with back to Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. This 2 weekends from now, I'll be there. In addition to the Audis, it's worth following the Mazda. I don't even know what they call their prototypes, but they're running a DPI, so the Daytona Prototype International class, so the top class at Daytona, and they're fighting against the Cadillacs. It's pretty strong teams, but Mazda's factory program with this DPI is run by Jost, who is obviously the longtime partner who ran Audi's German factory teams in LMP1 racing. So it's clearly a very seasoned team. And even though, let's see, Ralf Juttner is no longer with the team this year, or rather he's gone back to Jost in Germany, so he's no longer with the Mazda team this year, management of it. They have added some personnel changes. So they've added Brad Kettler, who just parted ways with Audi Sport Custom Racing, but a longtime friend at the Audi brand, and everybody knows and loves him. Brad is on for, I think, Daytona and Sebring, and maybe more later, according to Marshall Pruitt's podcast. And Marshall's been breaking a lot of that news. And then on the number 77 car is the lead engineer, is Lena Gage. She's been signed for full season. So again, Lena's longtime Audi lead engineer. If you watch Truth in 24-2, if you don't know who she is, Truth in 24 and Truth in 24-2 being the documentaries that Audi made about its LMP1 racing. Lena kind of is involved in the 2011 win. First woman to ever be lead engineer at Le Mans and win. Not first to ever be an engineer at Le Mans, but to do so and win. And then in her car for this race, she's got Oliver Jarvis, Audi factory driver in the past. Ollie ran Le Mans a couple times. He ran DTM. He's one of the full season drivers on there. Timo Bernhard, who is won with Audi at Le Mans in 2009. Raced
Timo's on the team?
2009, 2010 for Audi. Yeah, he and Romain Dumas both came over to after the RS Spider program ended, but before the 919 program began, they got some experience at Audi. And they actually won with Mike Rockefeller in 2009. And then also for the race, so Timo is on loan from Porsche. Because they don't have an LMP1 program this year. He did the 919 tribute stuff last year. I think he was the one who rocked the was it the Nürburgring? Yeah. And so he's got the track record now at Nürburgring thanks to that off the chain 919. And then also for this race, Renee Rast. So Timo's on for Sebring as well. He's not on full season, but he's on Daytona and Sebring. And Renee Rast will be a fourth driver.
He's a DTM driver.
Yeah, he's 2017 champion for Audi Sport, and he's still this season an Audi Sport DTM driver. He's run Daytona. That's my computer, not yours. He ran. You just swiped that to try.
Sorry.
And
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so I think he's won Daytona in R8s before. If not, he's been like he's been one of the guys. I know he was with APR the one year in the German run car. And anyway, Renee is a badass, and he's going to run with them. So that's, they just set a lap record. I think it was Ollie Jarvis who did it in the Roar Before the 24. So good. If they can stay reliable for 24 hours, they could be an overall win. And, it's the Audi alumni team.
It is.
Because it's Yost.
If there's a non-Audi team that you want to
and there's no Audi team running against them, so you might as well. It's Yost, it's Lena, it's Brad Kettler, it's Renee Rast, it's Timo Bernhard, and it's Jarvis.
No, Jarvis.
The other drivers around that weekend, though, Lauder's not racing the 24 hours that I'm aware of, but you should watch. I haven't seen a roster yet for the Rolex 24, but Loic Duval sometimes comes. Mike Rockefeller sometimes comes. Mike and Marcel Fassler are both regulars at Corvette. What's the F1 driver who's running for? He's running with with the Taylors in the Cadillac.
Oh, that's all you, man.
Blanking on his name, man.
That's
I'm
all
not
you.
an F1
I don't
fan.
really.
But he's that big deal. McLaren. Oh my God, brain's going to hell. Y'all know who he is, so you can just bag on me for not
Exactly.
knowing. Where's your list?
Oh yes, well that's okay. So go Team Yost, right?
Yeah. So back to, now that I took us on a tangent back to January, we'll get back into April. So we did Potomac at VIR, we did Northwest. No, we didn't do that one. No.
So in the middle of April, we're going to hop back and forth because we're heading back over to the West Coast for the Northwest guys. They're running an HPDE at Oregon Raceway Park.
Okay.
Which, I'm going to assume it's in Oregon.
And then next again is back to Potomac. They've got 2 going in April. I know those guys are hardcore, but so.
And this is only a partial list I got from Potomac.
So they're at Summit Point again on the 27th, and they fill up quick. I mean, this is a really. These obviously the chapters that are doing HPDs are serious HPD chapters, and they tend to get fed. Even if you're not a member of Potomac, I think that's also the important thing to remember, especially here in the Northeast, but really across the country. I know Ryan, for instance, who's now on the board, who is a member of Potomac, he will go and do HPDs on the West Coast. Some of the great
and
tracks.
We have some of those guys up
Ship
in the
his car
Pacific
out.
Northwest
Yeah.
doing events on the
Right.
East Coast. It's crazy.
So what's cool is it's a great opportunity to hit a lot of, like Laguna Seca, since it's a national club. If you're a member of Potomac, but you've always wanted to do Laguna Seca, and if you have the means to ship your cars out, which is what Ryan's done,
Yep.
You can do those tracks. So anyway, that's Summit Point on the 27th.
So
of April.
let me just jump in here
Yeah.
real quick. It's the beginning of the year, and everybody is pretty much formulating their schedule of HPDEs and their drives and whatnot for the year. So I just want to reiterate that this is a partial list.
But that's, you've been having a challenge trying to get everybody to get all that information to you.
Exactly.
And this being your second year in this, you started last year in this role with Audi Club. The biggest challenge is to get chapters, because the chapters are not consistent from some will, not to bag on you guys in the chapters, but that
we
I don't
understand
mean
they're
it that
volunteers.
way. You do
Exactly.
and you do what works best. And so what we found was a lot of people are posting that stuff on Facebook versus posting it on chapter sites, etc. What we'd ask you all, if you're in chapters and listening to this, send your stuff even over to Bill, whether it's you're planning your own event like an HPD, or whether it's you're planning on attending like that event in Florida where those guys are going to go check that event out. If you're trying to add it to your calendar, make sure we get it too, because we want to make sure we get it both on your master list, so that's going on the website.
Yes.
But also because if you've gotten your magazine this year, with Quattro magazine, we've just redesigned it this issue. It should be in mailboxes now. I haven't received mine yet, but we've redesigned the calendar there, so too, where it used to just highlight the HPDE events. Now it's highlighting everything.
You want to highlight what you guys are doing.
Yeah, and so we're covering the quarter for the magazine that you're in, and the plus 1 month. So
Plus 1 month.
this was January, February, March, and then April, and then we'll go from there. So that'll be every issue of the magazine too. But if we don't know about your event, we don't know about it, and so we can't be talking about it today, and we can't be promoting it. And of course, if you're putting on an event, my guess is you want to promote it. So
and we'll promote it too, or put it on our national website. We'll put it on our Facebook pages,
magazine,
and
email blasts,
definitely
etc.
magazine. Yeah.
But if you're doing events for the chapters and you're not talking to Bill, shame on you. You should be. And also, if you don't hear us on the list today, it's not because we overlooked it. Okay, we might have, but but more importantly, it's probably because we didn't hear about it. So, all right.
So let's go to the merry month of May.
May. We got
Yes.
Quattro de Mayo.
Quattro de Mayo. I mean, this is one of the Audi Club, especially Audi Club Georgia.
No, I would say it's probably, other than nationals, and some years on a week national year, this is probably one of the biggest events of the year.
Last year they had a phenomenal
150 cars.
I would say probably a little bit more than that, but definitely about 200 people.
So the quick lay of the land. I haven't been there, but I can give you the basics real quick, and then you please tell me what it's like, because I know you went last year. This is a Georgia club. It has a wealth of amazing roads around North Georgia, and up Tail the Dragon and
Western
going
North
into
Carolina.
Carolinas. So they do a host hotel this year in Helen, which is, I believe, a very German town.
It is a very barbarian town in North Georgia.
Right, and then we'll stage out of there, and then they will have different drives led by people who know those pre-stage routes. Everything is these guys have been doing this for years. It is buttoned up. It is planned, and so if you like a planned event, if you want loosey-goosey and just kind of go explore, I don't know if it's the right event for you.
It may not be for you.
But as driving, on-road driving events go, this is probably the best, not just the biggest, it's probably the best.
Yeah, I mean, they have, if you want to do spirited driving, they have spirited driving. If you want to do well, I can't remember exactly.
That's right. They have 3 levels,
Three
right?
levels. So there's spirited, which is, from what it sounds, it is pretty
more
intense.
aggressive drive.
You got to make sure that you're in top form, your vehicle's in top form.
And they do tech inspections, don't
Yes.
they?
Well, yes, I believe they do. Yes. Well, and you also have, obviously, you want to get your car inspected before you take them out, because even though it's not technically a track day, you're doing some driving through the driving.
And then there's a middle level.
Yeah, and I can't remember the exact name, but it's a middle level, which is it's toned down a bit. And then the third level is just a scenic tour if you want to see the beautiful countryside that's up there. And you may drive on some of these roads that, like spirited driving is on, but obviously you're going not as intense as those guys are. And every drive is led by a lead car and tailed by a tail car, so there's 2 guys following you. So let me tell you, registration opens tomorrow, I believe.
Yeah, and that goes quickly.
And it goes very fast.
If you're interested, jump on it or stay in touch if they have slots open up. But they get people coming in from all over. Again, it's multi-day. You've got banquets in the evening to learn what people saw and did the day before. Mm-hmm. It's really, really well run. I mean, Georgia's a tightly run ship on this. They clearly know what they're doing, and they do a great job with it. They do... they also do a raffle, or they do a silent auction or something like that.
Well, it is a silent auction, yes. So, I'm sorry, last year was my first year there. So they do silent auction. Every night there's a dinner. We had fireworks one night. That was sponsored by Audi America, which is beautiful.
Just really...
It is a great event. Like I said, go to quattro.com. I believe registration opens tomorrow, if not today. Yeah. And this sells out quickly, so jump on it.
So that's, I mean, we're going to stay on this chronologically, but I'll point out that's May 2 to 5. So the first weekend-ish, a little bit more than a weekend of May. And we'll be back in Georgia or the surrounding area later in May with other stuff. So let's go, let's skip the chronological. Let's go to just we'll come back to chronologically, get the rest of them.
Sure, let's go with what's happening in Georgia that
But yeah, so 2 to 5th is Quattro de Mayo, and then 11th is...
It's called the Alpine Bag Fair.
So
in Helen, Georgia. Once again, we're back in Helen, Georgia.
Yeah, Helen. So for the background, for those who don't know the tuning shows, Helen used to play host to Southern Wörthersee, which was Wörthersee itself being an event that happens in Austria, where they street park and take over a town or towns in Austria, and it's a huge GTI and Volkswagen and Audi and tuning event. And so Southern Wörthersee was started to sort of mimic that in this very Bavarian town of Helen, Georgia. And that got a little rowdy. Unfortunately, the local police didn't handle that the best early on, doing burnouts to impress the kids and whatever, and it got a bit chaotic. The town kicked them out. It went away.
So 2015 was the last time. So
right. There. So we have new show promoters. This will be Corey Sterling, who does the Bag Fair events in York, Pennsylvania, and in Maine.
Right.
And he's kind of got this opportunity to go back in and try and do an orderly show. So in the vein of what was there before, but preferably more buttoned up so that the town finds it acceptable and replicable. But this could be a one and done thing, because if it gets off, out of hand, which some shows do, and often, the promoters have nothing to do with it, then it may not happen again. So if you want to do it this year, you really, if you want to do it at all, really, you should consider it this year. And so that's May 2 to 5th, Georgia Quattro de Mayo, and then May 11th, Alpine Bag Fair, and then the next weekend, 17th to 18th.
Yep. So we're gonna close the circle here. So Matt Bounds ran Southern Wörthersee.
Yeah, the original promoter for SOO.
Exactly. So after I think a year off, he opened up the European Experience, which is actually in Savannah, Georgia. So we're on the coast of Savannah now.
And now it's all European now, not just where SOO was more VW Audi.
Exactly. It's over a weekend. I mean, if you've never been into the Low Country, that area of South Carolina, Georgia, it's beautiful. I grew up in that area, so that's why I know it very well. And I am going this year, which I haven't been to your experience, but I miss that area. So I mean,
you could stay in. That's by then. That's the 11th, right? The 17th to 18th. So 18th, yep. a lot of you could be in Georgia during the month of May and hit a bunch of events, but Matt, it's worth calling out Matt Bounds too. He's a cool guy. Works for Forge Motorsport. Great support of the club, and also Forge and Matt in particular are very supportive of the RS3 LMS program that Don runs, that Audi Club supported last year as well. And I mean, even to the point where they don't just stroke a check to sponsor him, which they do, but they're also part of his his pit crew. So really great enthusiasts, and Matt's certainly a very true enthusiast, and he runs that event. So
I mean, so the Georgia chapter and Carolina's chapter. I mean, I'm going to be reaching out to you guys to see if we can get stuff on back-to-back weekends, and with QDM, because I know a lot of y'all will be at Quattro de Mayo also. But it's going to be a busy May for us.
You're just going to stay down there.
I'm probably I'm fortunate because my parents live in Atlanta, so I can just hang out. But I'm excited. It's going to be busy.
So we hope to cover all those if we can in the magazine too. So, but the challenge here, because especially for me, if I may do Alpine Bag Fair, but then coming back to 17th to 18th is Euro Experience. 17th to 19th is Carlisle, which for those in the Northeast is a bit of a it is what it is.
It's the National Import and something show.
So kick hard, I don't even know. Yeah. Carlisle Productions has, God love them. They have this fairgrounds in the middle of Carlisle, Pennsylvania, which is near Harrisburg. It's kind of central in the state, and it's they do shows every 2 weeks at the Carlisle Fairgrounds. So one year might be like Brodozers.
They do Corvettes.
Yeah, there's literally Truck Nationals.
Blah, blah, blah,
yeah, there's a Truck Nationals, there's Corvette Nationals, all GM, all Chrysler. There's all kinds of crap. But mid-May is their import show, and that show has sort of been over the years a bit of a hodgepodge. They throw in whatever else, like I think for a while they were throwing in kit cars. That's where we met Chuck Beck. Never saw his V12 motorcycle, but we did see his Porsche stuff. Anyway, it's a hodgepodge, and I don't know that the emphasis is really there on kit cars anymore, but it's still very much a mix of a really cool old eclectic mix of everything. Even while you may see weird old Peugeots and whatever else next to Subarus, next to whatever, the Audi crew that comes in it's a pretty large regular group. You can camp on grounds if you're young and you don't mind the weather and you like to party, maybe.
It rains.
Yeah, you can, but the guys who were there were hardcore and would go out drinking all night at the track. There at the fairgrounds. There's an autocross area that they have. There are dopey things like car limbo for like the bags, or the Lotus. You gotta love like the Lotus Europa coming and cleaning up from like kid in a bag Mazda Miata. You just can't get that low, bro.
No.
But
burnout events. Swap meet.
Do they still do? Yeah, I guess they do burnouts. I didn't see as much of that last year. But there's a swap meet with some vendors.
It was pouring last year.
Yeah, swap meet with some vendors. Saw a cool old guy who was selling his, I think, just collection of crap that he had gotten over the years, and so he had like an Audi Sport calendar from like '84 or something with like rally era.
And what did he have a scale model or something that he wanted insane money for?
Maybe, but nerdy stuff and used parts. There's a lot of that. Depends which vendors come out, how good the mix is. But it's a 3-day event. We've done everything from like Truth in 24 showings at the local movie theater to every Saturday morning of that event. So that would be the 18th. We'll do a breakfast at local Audi Mechanicsburg. We haven't set that up yet, and they have had a management change over there since they sold their Porsche franchise. But we're pretty sure that'll happen again, and they're a great dealership. They're probably 15 minutes up the road from the event.
If that. I mean, it's the Audi Owners Breakfast. It's always nice.
8 to 10. The dealer always brings in food, and some years they'll open up their wash bay and let us wash cars.
Yeah, they'll clear out their parking lot.
They clear out the showroom, and they set up tables so people can come in kind of beer hall style, and no beer, but have breakfast and hang out somewhere dry if you've been camping and it's a wet weekend. So really cool. And gotta love Audi Mechanicsburg. Sun Motor Cars is also what they're known as, but they've been long-time supporters of that event. And always just, they pick up the catering charges and everything else. And like I said, some years they'll open up the wash bays and whatever else, and they don't charge the club anything for it. It's a really great dealer and a great event. Small.
It's not, Audi Club, we've been trying to bring, the chapters out there, and there are chapter members that come out there, but the majority of these people, I believe are...
So geographically though, that's central Pennsylvania. So you're talking about, we get Potomac people, we get Western PA people, we get Philly people, we get some New York people. So,
but we also get a bunch of Canadians come down.
There's a crew. I need to meet up with them. Yeah, the crazies from. I mean crazy in a completely good way. The guys like Martin and the Canadian Quattro guys who come down, sometimes very frustratingly with like they can import a car at 15 years, so they were the first ones to come down with an S2 and an RS2
exactly.
and S6 Plus and all this weirdo stuff from Europe that like we can't get yet. Well, now RS2 just came legal this year, so hopefully that'll be. But they come down or quattros that are beautiful. I mean, Martin's what he's able to restore. He's got a 2-door B2, like I have that 4000 quattro, 84. He's got like the small bumper, super crazy rare 2-door 80 quattro, which they built so few of, but like he's imported one of those, and so those guys, and then there are the guys who come out from like Ohio and West, like Mike Giacino, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. Sorry, Mike, if I butchered that. But like what's cool about that group is they'll stop in. You remember when we went and rode bikes on the abandoned turnpike?
Turnpike, yes.
Yeah, with like the 2 long tunnels and
Don't remind me.
Yeah, Phil doesn't like confined spaces.
But anyway, go ahead.
but they will stop there and they'll mountain bike on that. They make like a 3 or 4 day weekend out of it. So it's catching up with those guys is cool too. I mean, these are all just kind of enthusiasts doing their thing. This is not like organized, sanctioned anything other than the Audi Club breakfast at the dealer. But still, great group of people and regularly in there. It's cool. It'll come back up. Yeah, she just doesn't. Every 10 minutes, she just gotta pick up.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's an event that you should make it.
Yeah. So let's cruise. I know I'm getting chatty and so are you. So let's move past really quick through these HPDs because we haven't gone 18th and 19th.
No. Let's go back to we skipped.
Oh right, yeah. So
May
let's go
9th,
can you go up a little bit?
May 9th is our Northeast Quattro.
So
Club.
And that's a Lime Rock, looks like. NEQ doing an HPD at Lime Rock. So cool. Lime Rock's small track.
Right. It says to be determined format. Because the next day, on the 10th and 11th, also at Lime Rock, they're doing one that's opened up to all abilities. So I'm assuming that on the 9th it's going to be
just kind of add on to that.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's the 9th through the 11th, basically, or Northeast Quattro Club.
And then 18th and 19th, Northwest is having one at the Matt Ammon Memorial Driving School, back at Ridge Motorsports Park. So then we move on to June. NEQ has an HPD at Lime Rock again. Again, depends on the format, but that's locked down. And then that's the 3rd to the 4th. And the 3rd to the 7th, there is, for those who are interested in going to Europe and driving cars, Audi Club hosts a R8 driving event. I think they do 2 a year.
They do 2. There's 2 of them in a year. So the first one is June 3rd to 7th.
Yeah.
I know officially it's the 4th through. Officially, it's the 4th through the 7th, but on the 3rd, you actually go to Ingolstadt. So you meet there in Ingolstadt. You have lunch there, and then technically the tour starts on the 4th.
Okay. So you
So
get a little time at the factory, and you're driving R8s down to Italy. I mean, sounds
and
pretty
this
rad.
year you're driving R8 Spiders.
I've done similar events, but not with this. So I mean, it's obviously driving an R8 in its own environment. If you're starting out from Ingolstadt and you're going down to Italy, that means you've got to cut down through probably Austria, and you're going to run down the A9. So at the very least, you've got the Autobahn, the A9 out of Ingolstadt, like 6 lanes each way, and and it's unlimited speed between there and Munich. Not the whole way, but most of the way. So you can have some fun there and drive the cars for how they would.
Exactly. I mean, they have all the hotels lined up already.
Yeah. It's a touring event. This is not an on track,
no.
but you will. I mean, if you're leaving Ingolstadt in these cars, I know I've seen them stage there in the Audi Forum before. You will get some time on unlimited speed. When you get down into like Austria and Italy, you got to watch your pace on the Autostrada and down there because they will find you. But and even in Germany, you need to watch it, right? Like
exactly, it's not wide open all the time. I mean,
right. But there are unlimited speed zones on the A9.
So if you're interested, it's called the Dolce Vita Tour. Go onto our website audiClubNA.org.
Talking about this European travel, I kind of feel like that. Who's that? Rick Steves or whatever? The guy. Have a wonderful cafe. Yeah, no.
At the Dolce Vita Tour.
Can blast past that cafe in an R8, scare the hell out of everybody. That's what I suggest you should do. But all right, so moving on, back in the U.S. Rocky Mountain is doing.
Yeah, there's an event called the Colorado Concours Elegance.
So it sounds like a Concord Elegance in
Yes.
Colorado. Awesome.
In Colorado.
No, it should be. I don't mean to sound coy, but we do have to move through these, and you and I have never been to that one. So next is
The 23rd of June is the back to the Pacific Northwest HPD Quattro Cross.
a lot of quattro names in this. Evergreen Speedway.
Evergreen Speedway, yeah.
Not familiar with it.
Me
But
neither.
23rd Cult Classic. This is one of Josh's events. You
Yeah.
want to?
Josh Pash is he is the
Nothing
owner
leaves
of
stock.
Nothing Leaves Stock. NLS Auto. He's well known in the Volkswagen world now, and he's a one lap driver. I think he won his class 1 year.
So, but this is a small regional event.
Very small show.
One of those cool little small town, like it's across from an ice cream parlor.
There's an ice cream parlor that's like right there. I mean, it's basically held in this park. It has baseball fields. Coopersburg, PA.
But the
it's a tiny little.
mix of cars that showed up though.
Oh, it's amazing.
We had everything, like some weird S5 Sportback and like cool out exclusive. RWB Philadelphia showed up because this is outside. I mean, I wouldn't say this is a suburb of Philly, but
it's probably the
close.
hour north of Philly. So.
Yeah, but like a really interesting mix of cars. A lot of Audis showed up. A couple RS3s, and if we were there. We'll probably be there again this year.
Exactly.
It's local for
I
us.
say it's the 23rd. It may not be because I don't think he's technically set the date yet. But it's always like the last
About that
Saturday
time.
in June. And what happens then is there's a Cars and Coffee that goes on at Steel Stacks in Bethlehem, which is the next town over.
Yeah.
That's in the morning, and that's like early in the morning. Most of those guys will come over. We'll do both events.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Start-
they'll come
start
over
at
to
Stacks.
Cult Classic. Yeah.
Okay, and then moving on, 28th, another HPD. This one at Northwest, and I'm not even gonna try and pronounce.
Geschwindig,
Yeah, I have no idea.
whatever. It's an
Pacific-
HPD.
Pacific-
at the Pacific
Raceway.
Yes, God bless the Northwest chapter for naming all these
Yeah.
their events.
In July, Northwest again. They're doing an Audi car corral this time at Pacific Northwest Historics. I'm not familiar, but it sounds awesome. At Pacific Raceways. I'm big on historics.
Oh,
You know what I'm not seeing on here? What we need to add? The Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix. I know
Oh gosh,
that
yes.
the Pittsburgh Audi Club is big on it. It's in July. I don't know the dates, so you'll have to Google it. Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix. But Shenley Park in Pittsburgh, really cool.
I want to go to this. I've heard so many good things about
It's
this.
usually up against Waterfest. That's why we never go.
That's right. You know what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Hopefully it's not. If it's not this year, we should try and go because it's. I think I attended in '99, and there's some like back then there was a. Well, we know there's some cool cars in Pittsburgh, but there was Sewickley Audi that was down like right near where the rivers merge.
That's when they got flooded out, right?
Yeah, and
Okay.
they had built two. This is back when the cars were still expensive before they got cheap and then got expensive again. They had built an Quattro 20 valve. The first one built in the U.S. They built was a white one, and that was the owner of the dealer. And then they built another black one with like an RS2 configuration, 20 valve 5-cylinder. I think that car got damaged in the flood. Maybe they both did, but I think the black one's still around. It doesn't really matter. I'm going on a tangent. But Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix, definitely worth checking out. It's sometime in July, so I figured it out.
That's right.
That's what
Ed
Google's
says we have
for.
to go out there, so we'll try.
Yeah, so did we do the Northwest Audi? Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did. So we're on now the 13th, which is we're talking about another small show,
Yeah, Deutsch Classic.
Deutsch Classic.
Love that show. I mean, it's. I wish when it was the Fleetwood, I liked Fleetwood. It was a little more friendly for my kids, but just because they could see ducks and they were little and it's a park.
They had
But
a playground.
but Oli is also a cool venue. And what I love about this event is two things. One is they put a lot, like Josh, a little shout out to Josh back at Cult Classic 2. They put a lot of time and effort into their trophies. So
Yes.
I'm not really big into the whole car show trophy thing. Some people really are. I don't really care, but they do. And in those cases, whether it's Cult Classic or whether it's Deutsch Classic, these guys put a lot of effort into creating these really funky,
One
weird.
of kind
Yeah.
awards. I mean, and in fact, Josh has said that he's gotten his inspiration from these guys with their
Did he?
with their awards. I mean,
see
we're
that.
talking about
I mean, with car parts.
either made
and-
out of car parts or like milled out of.
Yeah.
a piece
And
of
what else is
aluminum.
this is a really great family-friendly event. I remember there was like a Herbie replica that showed up the one year that was like squirting water out of its jets. And my kids giggled when it got me. But at the same time they do
They have a tire throwing.
tire throwing thing. They do, you know what else is cool that they do? They do like you know how like at Easter you have an Easter egg hunt? They do matchbox hunts.
Oh,
So,
that's
and they have great like used vendors. I think I picked up a couple of manuals there last year. I mean, it's not like a high end. I don't even,
And
the
it's not
cars
a
that
huge
show up
event.
are like well loved kind of drivers, but like it's a mix.
It's the first time I ever saw Trabant was there.
Yeah, all kinds of German
In
cars.
life, yeah.
So you'll see some Audis, you'll see some Porsche, some Volkswagen, a lot of air cooled VW.
So Deutsch Classic in Ole, PA on the 13th of July.
And that's like Central Eastern Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's around us basically. So
All right, 13th also. So
this is the weekend of the
that's
13th.
a bit of a scheduling conflict.
Yeah,
but that's all weekend. I don't think it'll just be that day. It's the New York City E-Prix. So Formula E in Brooklyn.
At the terminal.
Yeah, the cruise terminal in
you.
Brooklyn. So it's right overlooking the water. It is hard to get to, but once you're there, it's very enclosed and very cool. I would probably recommend public transportation. I winged it and drove in last year because
You got lucky.
we were coming in from Waterfest, and I street parked in an area where we're supposed to be local, so I don't think my PA tags help me, but I can get ticketed. But yeah, if you can get in, it is really cool. I mean, it's not hard to get into. You can certainly buy tickets.
Exactly.
But parking, you want to plan for hotel.
Public transportation.
Yeah, public transportation.
Uber
It is your friend in New York. And Brooklyn is, for those who don't know, it's like right across what would that be, the East River from Lower Manhattan.
Yeah.
So you're looking at like Battery Park.
We're getting laughed at now by New Yorkers about.
I'm not familiar.
But yeah, I mean it's a tight, small.
I think Audi Sports says that there's like some trendy hotel like right at the foot of the Brooklyn Bridge, like One Brooklyn or something like that. Anyway, that's New York City E-Prix. That you've got it down there on the 13th, but I think it's the whole weekend.
It's the whole weekend. I mean, that's
It's
when
usually a race Saturday, race Sunday,
race
and there may
Saturday.
even be
Yeah.
like they have a circuit up and they're on track on Friday as well, probably doing practice and stuff. So
Oh yeah, the track will be there, and you more than likely you can see.
Yeah.
If not, obviously.
I'll plan on the weekend in New York. So
yeah, it's spending the weekend in New York. I mean,
13th, 14th, Pirelli World Challenge, Portland International Raceway. Do we have that on there for some specific reason? Or what?
well, no, because the Northwest chapter, they're doing
a corral.
They're doing a corral out there.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I will say that's probably worth pointing out then again. We are not covering IMSA's schedule other than the races where we know there's something significant. And Pirelli World Challenge, same thing. Pirelli World Challenge has, just like IMSA, has GT3 cars racing in the weekend, has GT4 and RS3 LMS racing in a given weekend too.
Yep.
So you should check their schedules for the racing series because they have races all over the U.S., different tracks, and
So that's why I put that one on there because it's a Northwest.
we know there's a
thing.
corral.
Yeah.
The club is managing a corral there at that event. But we're not covering all of those races in this, so that's critical. If you're into racing, you should check them out because, the series schedules, and we will post information with Audi. Like I said, I checked with Audi Motorsport Experience to see where they were going to be this season. They'll probably be at the E-Prix.
Right.
They were there for
surprised if they weren't.
They were there for the first time last year.
Really? So
Yeah, and this year with Formula E too, they don't have to change cars midway through the race, which is
that's right.
a little weird. They can go the whole race this time. And really quick, Formula E, you've got two Audi Sport cars, which is Lucas Degrassi and Daniel Opt, who's of the Opts, and
Opt.
yeah, right, Opt Sports Line Opt, and a talented young driver. And then you also have Envision Virgin Racing running Audi this year, so it's Martin Friesens and Sam Bird running
So
Audi Sport, and then and then also in that series you have Andre Lauder, who runs with Techeetah. I don't think Loic Duval is running this year. I think he's with DTM full season. But then you never know who you have tests with as well. I know I've seen trying to think young blonde driver who runs for DTM now. For the Audi Sport, I know I'm blanking on his name, but he tested twice now. They do they do tests every race, and so he's tested twice now. And then Benoit just tested with Envision last. I think they're doing this more to get some of the drivers' exposure in the series, but they seem to be running tests ahead of every race. So you never know who might be stepping in, and we won't know until we get close to that race.
Yeah,
anyway,
so you went to the E-Prix 2 years ago.
Yeah, when National was in New York, I wasn't thinking last year. Last year was the first year that Audi Sport Experience went there, but.
Right.
I am definitely on a tangent at this point, so let's.
All right, yeah, let's move to the
20th, 21st, Waterfest.
in July.
In July 20th.
This is
21st.
our, we've been to this show for years.
Largest VW Audi tuning show in the nation. It's a lot of it. While it used to be at Raceway Park, so we have drag racing. It's now moved to ATCO, so we still have drag racing.
Yeah.
We lost the
So Englishtown, it was up until last year. It was in Englishtown, New Jersey, which is North New Jersey.
And then Copart went and leased. So like all the stuff, all the drifting, all the drag races, all that at Englishtown has stopped, unfortunately. Thanks, Copart. Yeah. Even though I've gotten some parts from you in the past, so I guess I can't be that mad at you. But yeah, anyway, so it's moved to ATCO. Dan and his team have moved that event to ATCO. Good transition year. They came on strong last year.
Yeah, it was going to be different because it's an old event that's been around for years. in
like
in
over
the same
20
location for the same, for years.
Waterfest because it was initially for water cooled VWs and Audis.
Right, because the air cooled guys didn't really like.
They had all sorts of air cooled shows back then, right? Like Bug Out and all that stuff.
Man,
but
Bug Out,
right, reaching back. Anyway, they moved to ACO. They don't no longer have the autocross. They have drag racing still.
Yep.
A lot of vendors still showed up, so it's still anybody who's anybody in the tuning industry. It's sort of a trade. That's the central to the show is the vendor area.
Exactly.
Really better than any other VW Audi show I'd go to.
It's amazing. I mean, it's like I said, George and I and group have been doing it for years.
APR comes in with big old spread, their whole rig.
NGP,
Unitronic, NGP, all huge. 034 shipped all their stuff in this year.
Right.
Came. So I mean, it's and that's not even half of it. So it is definitely, if you're interested in buying parts, want to see some of the stuff in person or hold it, see the quality. That's a great place to go.
Yeah, and they'll install it. Most of the parts there. Too.
They do install a lot of installations there, and then obviously big tuning shows, a lot of modified cars there. We're looking at that's now in southern New Jersey, still New Jersey, but southern, so more of the suburbs of Philly at this point. And then we're looking at maybe we saw a great, I don't even know which dealer it is, so we really need to reach out to them soon, but a brand new Audi terminal dealership just up the road from Atco in the kind of more built out area. So we'd like to try and talk to them. Maybe we can try and do something with them.
Yeah, we got great chapters in that area. In New Jersey, we have the Mid Atlantic, which now is being called Eastern Pennsylvania. Obviously, the Northeast guys.
East Coast,
East Coast is heavy.
A lot of stuff close. And so to Dan and the team, Dan Borman, who runs that, they did a great job. And I mean, it's a transition year, but it should be
I think it was successful. I loved it. I loved the new location.
So then moving on to August, Eurofest.
Eurofest in Lime Rock. I mean,
European Car Show, Lime Rock.
Exactly. And if you ever heard of Euro Parts, they're the ones
they
who
put it on.
They run this show. We tried to do like an Audi Club presence there. They are willing, to give us space. We just reached out too late last year. That's why we couldn't make it. But it's on our.
There'll be a presence there. I mean, I don't know if there'll be a club presence. We're working on that, but there'll be Audi owners there for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Then
so I mean, do they still run an RS3 LMS? I know they do it last year.
And it'll probably be there.
Yeah.
Then next up, Northwest is back at another HPD. This one, I'm not going to try and pronounce it.
Strassenlog.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I'm sure they all know how to pronounce it. I've never been there, so I don't know the name. Ridge Motorsports Park again.
So that's 10th and 11th of August.
Yeah, and then 10th.
Also on the 10th and 11th, our first, that I know
Canadian
of,
event. Yeah, Berlin Classic in Grand Bend, Ontario. So big growth in the Eastern Canada,
the East Canadian chapter this year, and the last year has exploded.
So it's starting to do a lot more, and we'll have to check that one out. But
right, I mean, we want to, obviously, there's only a couple Canadian events on my list right now, okay, but I've never been to Canada. Have you ever been to Canada?
I have, yeah.
You have?
Yeah, you got to watch your speeding up there, because metric system.
Even my kid's been to Canada before I have. But anyway, but I do want to touch on these shows, because we want to support that chapter. They're doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah. So, and that's a whole other mix. I mean, as we've seen with the group who comes down from Montreal for for Waterfest, I mean, it's a whole other mix of cars, and those guys they build some really amazing cars. Anyway, let's.
Okay, so we're gonna Monterey. So August 12th is like the first. You may want to say the maybe official day, opening day of Monterey.
We've got it down for 12 to 18.
Yes.
But here's the thing with Monterey. It is a week of events, right? And by that I mean do your homework, because there's no one site that lists them all. But I know there's the core events are the Pebble Beach Concours, which is the final Sunday of Monterey Car Week.
But it is open all the whole time, right?
Pebble Beach has things going on all week, but the Concours itself, the one that's so prestigious and where Leno and Seinfeld and all those guys show up, is Sunday. But yes, there are things going on all week, and then so the core events, the Monterey Historics, which is now the Rolex Monterey Motorsport Reunion.
It's right there at Laguna Seca.
Right. And so that one is all. I mean, that one technically is, I think, Wednesday to Sunday every day. There are different heats on track, but I think there's even like a pre-historics. So I think they open up early in the week for some of those cars coming in to try and get their setups ready and just more time on track, break whatever they're going to break so they can fix it again and run some more.
Exactly. You gotta go to Laguna. I mean, it's.
So yeah, I mean, then there's I mean, we could go over really quickly. There's Automobilia down in Seaside, which is like an indoor vendors. then a lot of those vendors move over to Pebble Beach to their Spanish Bay venue for I forget what they call that, but there are vendors there. We ran into Jay Leno and I'm blanking on his name.
You've been doing that a lot today.
I know, my God. Never mind. But
Okay, go ahead.
it's just name dropping anyway, frankly. Yeah. It's not like I know Jay. Jay and I, we're like, he's like, George, check this out. No, Jay Leno doesn't know me. I don't know Jay Leno.
So, I mean,
but yes, so there are those. But so let's stick to, for Audi, certainly, going through the week, we had Automobilia, we had the pre-whatever at the track. If you care about custom paints, if you're an Audi exclusive nerd, 000 did their paint to sample Porsche thing. That was really neat. Again, you got to look these up to see where they're going to be. Legends of the Autobahn is Friday, and that's the Audi Club, BMW Club, Mercedes Club all put on an event at Jack Nicklaus Country Club near Carmel, I believe, and that's obviously an all German. Those three brands,
exactly.
Concours. That's at Nicklaus. Also Friday, Porsche Works reunion. The other one from like Amelia Island. Mm-hmm. They have one here. That's just up the road from Jack Nicklaus. Also on Friday is the Quail at the Quail Motorsports Gathering at the Quail Country Club. That is extremely prestigious. I just got my email for buying tickets. They just opened up their ticket lottery yesterday, I believe. It's like $900 for a standard ticket to get into this event, so it is not cheap.
This is why I stay at Legends of the Autobahn.
a lot of celebrities go there. A lot of crazy cars. All the exotic car manufacturers go there, and not just like McLaren or Ferrari, but also like Porsche was there big. Porsche hosts their Porsche plots, like Test Drive Center out of there, and they have like a gift shop and like a bar and whatever. It's like a temporary structure. But you also have like Singer and Gunther Works and people like that who do continuation cars, special resto custom kind of builds. Audi Sport does go there. Last year they were there with the RS5 Sportback and the PB18 e-tron concept car that they revealed at the track over at Laguna Seca the night before.
Didn't the year before they had the Pikes Peak Quattro out there?
They did, yeah. They had and an R8 LMS livery the same as the Pikes Peak, the original Pikes Peak 87 winner that Roll had. So they always do something special and kind of over the top at Quail. So if you can afford it, here's the challenge with Quail. One, you need to drop $900, and two, if you want to see it all, that means you got to split your day between the very reasonably priced Legends of the Autobahn and Quail, and then on top of that, if you're into Porsche too, you got to I usually do all three.
That Friday, and I don't know how you get through all that traffic, man.
Yeah, I mean what's aggravating about it is, fortunately, I've gotten media passes to Quail in the past, but if you're paying $900, like if I were
stay there all day,
I'd be there all day because the food is amazing. They have these chefs making this amazing stuff.
I wouldn't know because I've never been.
Food stations all over the place, and the challenge is I end up there at the end of the day. So like all the food stations are kind of blown out, right? You can still walk around and look at the cars. The other thing I learned this year is if you have a media credential, which I did, or you're a higher level patron, you got to pay more money for this. You can get in earlier in the morning, and if you go in earlier in the morning shoot photography at least, amazing lighting. All the shrimp buffet barbecue or journalist guys haven't shown up yet, right? It was just the photographers and the people who are displaying mainly. So it was really great to go in early. So if you can get in early, do it. I don't know if, depending on where your income level is at, if you care to pay for the higher level, but cool. That's all Friday. And by the way, Friday's not over yet. Friday night down at Exotics on Cannery Row, which usually for Audi people, there's a couple R8s, a couple Spikers there last year. That's all there.
Weird stuff.
And then also, we neglected to say all throughout the week, you have Gooding Company, you have Sotheby's.
All the auctions, that's right.
RM Sotheby's, you have Bonhams, you have Barrett Jackson, you have, there are more, I know I'm missing more. But they all these auctions both have, it's worth checking their listings because you'll get things from we've seen Group B,
oh man, but they had that Group B.
The Group B display, there's a Sport Quattro in that. We've seen Horks, we've seen, and granted it goes a little more blue chip when it comes to classic car collecting, so old Ferraris or whatever.
Mercedes, old,
Rolls Royce, Bentley. But you will find some Audis mixed in. Like I know with Barrett or is it Cruise? Anyway, the more kind of volume auctions, like the one that shows down near Cannery Row,
right.
We saw some R8s and stuff like that.
That was
Mecum.
Yeah,
that's who it was. So Mecum had a couple R8s. It just depends year to year to year, and it always changes. So But now that the quattros are starting to go up in value, and sport quattros are crazy, they will find those. If that one doesn't show up for Amelia, it'll probably show up at Monterey.
Yeah, it's got to be out there.
Then Saturday, we usually do the track.
Yes, the Laguna for the
historics. Walking around the paddock, got to do it. Audi Sport Custom Racing generally goes in the garage paddock with like the custom racing cars. So again, the R8 LMS, GT3, GT4, and the RS3,
the RS3
LMS TTR car.
Yep.
Michelin's usually there, Jaguar, Porsche, and then you get into the main paddock and you see all these rich guys with their old cars. Audi's done test drives in the past on course. But if you pay attention and you're on these lists, you can get, like Lamborghini does test drives out of the Quail. I know Ferrari does them out of Pebble Beach. McLaren does them wherever. So I know when we worked with Audi to do a couple R8 slots for people a couple years ago. And one of the guys that made the lottery that we had run through was telling me, like, well, I need to plan it around my McLaren drive, my Lamborghini drive. Like, bro, you're not making me want to get into this drive. Kind of want to give it to somebody who doesn't have them. But yeah, anyway, if you keep your ear to the ground, there's a lot to do there. Keep your eyes open too when you're driving around in Monterey.
Yeah, you have to.
959 going the other way. Or...
Keep a camera. I mean, well, have your passenger keep a camera handy because you'll find it.
Downtown Carmel. We found that last year. Like street parked singers and crazy.
The street. Like
on
the street.
There's always something new to find. And Waze is your friend because there's always snarled traffic in Monterey.
Always snarled traffic.
But you can get through neighborhoods and whatever else. So fire up Waze when you're there.
Okay, so I mean that's just like George said, you're not gonna find all the events in one.
Yeah, we've gone 3 years now, and we're just fine. Like Carmel, we just found last year.
Exactly.
Two other things worth mentioning with Monterey. I know we need to move on because we're running out of time. The one is we went down to Big Sur last year for dinner.
Yes.
It's like a 30-minute, 40-minute drive down PCH. Amazing lighting.
Amazing. So,
again, seeing singers and all kinds of weird stuff on the road because that's where everybody goes to do photography or just have fun. Went to Nepenthe, had a great dinner with some of the Audi guys. That was great. The other thing worth doing, if you're going to go to Monterey, two things. One, if you can afford it, ship your car in. If you've got a toy car, cool old vintage car you want to take with you, that's the time to enjoy it. I know some guys from the East Coast, from Audi of America, ship their cars together and like personal, toy cars, ship them together and then stay together at a house. So like last year we stayed at a house with like 6 folks, some Audi people, Dennis Podmarkov, photographer who contributes to the Quattro magazine. And you and I, and we were there with our, you make sure you have enough parking for everybody's car. Yeah. But in the evenings, you can go back. The one that, Ian fired up we made steaks.
Some great steaks and asparagus, let me tell you.
It's way more relaxed when you're trying to get a table when it's so crazy busy.
Because you remember also we had to drive 2 hours for our hotel room before.
Well, that's you got to schedule a year out, or you need to hit like VRBO or one of these sites that you can book a house. We use MontereyRentals.com. It's a little local place. 7-night minimum nowadays on Monterey Rentals. They weren't 2 years ago, but even then, we booked late last year and finding a house that was suitable, it was worth it to take the whole week. And if we played with it, so like we dialed the window back, like starting the week, the day we had to be there, and then we extended for a couple extra days on that back end when nobody wants it, and the rate dropped. So it was better to. It was, if that made sense. Plus, these are all rental houses. They're not, you're not, somebody's dirty underwear isn't there on, not that it is on, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not like Airbnb. But I mean, these are, all the linens are there. You don't have to bring your own linens. It's all prepped.
Our house last year was fantastic.
You don't have to clean it before you leave. No. Just leave it.
So, yeah, I mean, Monterey Car Week, if you got to experience it at least once.
Yeah.
But you're going to want to go back because it's going to be at least my 3rd time going back.
Yeah, if I can keep going back, I will. It's amazing.
Okay, so all right, so let's move forward. On the 20, we're still in August. Wow. 26th, 27th, our Northeast Quattro Club is running an HPD at Watkins Glen.
Great historic track in New York, upstate. Totally worth going. Have not attended that event, but HPD and Watkins Glen, how can you lose? Next is 30th to 1st.
The August 30th to September 1st, the Northwest chapter, they're doing
a corral at the IndyCar race there, Grand Prix of Portland.
So there's Grand Prix of Portland.
Portland International.
So they're going to have there. Now, I have VAG-Craft, VAG Craft. I don't have a date on that yet because I wasn't.
That's a Canadian tuning show.
But it's our second Canadian show up there, and it's in Ontario. So
I've heard good things. I've never been, but
I've never been too. I know that in our past life they wanted us to come up there, but you know what? I would love to go up there. So it's I think it's their biggest show.
So yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
September SoCal Euro. You did that last year.
Oh yeah. So SoCal Euro, it's in San Diego. So this year is going to be September 1st, which is a Sunday. Yeah? Okay. Anyway, it's at the San Diego Community. I can't remember. It's
Stadium.
It's at the stadium that where
Look
the
it up on the
Chargers
website.
where the Chargers used to play before they moved to LA. They got Hollywood. Anyway, so last year was my first time going to SoCal Euro. Audi Merc was Ian out there was fantastic. He gave us an Audi Sport liveried VW Doka to drive down. So it was my first time there, and it was a lot bigger.
So there are a lot of obviously rich car culture in Southern California.
Yes.
A lot of enthusiasts come down. A lot of Audis come down. Several Audi car clubs. What are the local? I know for us it's the Southern California chapter, but there are others. There's like the San Diego Audi Club.
Exactly. I think there's another one called the SoCal Audi Club.
Eric Dietz's Autobahn Club, LA.
Autobahn Club in LA. So we went and we met at a big box store early in the morning, and a whole bunch of us. There was probably like at least 60 Audis out there who just who congregated, and we were only like 5 miles away from the stadium at that point. But it was really neat to pull up there, and everybody convoyed down from there. I mean, we got to go there in this parking lot and just see the Audis without being all scattered about. People, talking, all the clubs and meeting each other. Then we hopped into the cars and drove over to the stadium, which they pretty much took over one side of the stadium.
And that's just like part of the day, right? That's like the afternoon.
That's just that's unofficial.
Right? No. What I mean is SoCal Euro is just like the afternoon then. Right?
Oh yes. Well, we were invited for dinner the previous night, but I was staying in LA, so I wasn't driving down just for the Audi Club dinners. But it's a great event. It's obviously not just Audis and Volkswagens. There's a huge Mercedes contingent comes in, a huge BMW contingent that comes in. Great cars. I mean, we saw cars that were, like you said, SoCal Auto.
Yeah, I mean, just great car culture. You've got a lot of vintage, hasn't rusted out.
No.
So like those 5000s that showed up and that are quattro, and then you've got won't say who, but I know we talked about this before too. There's a tuner that we know in Southern California whose line was in LA, any asshole can buy a new S4 and tune it. and so where I'm going with that is they're a bit jaded in LA. They drop a lot of point on cars, and so you've got. Whereas a new S4 is kind of a high roller car at say Waterfest. I mean, not amongst the vendors, you have like a lot of rates and stuff too. But like a new S4 is not an inconsequential car. I think in LA, people tend to spend more money on their cars. So, I mean, of course, you have like Angeles Crest and you have all the canyons, and it's an amazing place to have an amazing car if you're not dealing with highways. Plus, a new S4 would have some autonomous functionality
Exactly.
for the 101. But where I'm going with this is they get a lot of really nice new cars that are really well built and stuff that you probably a little less seen on the East Coast. So
I'm definitely going back.
Yeah.
Last year I said it was my first time there. Definitely going back. I mean, it was
Lon Mock puts that event on. It's been going on for years. It's all European.
And it's
cool.
And it was a large show. I didn't know what to expect when I went out there, but I was very pleasantly surprised. I'm definitely going back.
Yeah.
So nice job, Lon and the crew.
So next up, Rocky Mountain Euros on the Peak.
Euros on the Peak. It's just an automotive show that's out there.
So
they don't have a date set for it yet. So it's early.
Do we know where it is? Is Denver?
It's
Rocky Mountain chapter, so Colorado.
Yeah.
Google it. No, I'm not. We don't have it all here. I mean, we have Google too, but we're trying to talk, people. Anyway, Northwest Maryhill Loop Road Tour and Wine Tasting.
Yeah. Okay. So if you don't know what the Maryhill Loop Road is, Google it. No, I'm just joking. It's a private road actually. It's run by a nonprofit. You can either rent out or whatnot.
Okay.
But it's supposed to be. I mean, obviously Loops Road. It's a great, fantastic driving road. So you're not competing with traffic when you're.
So they're gonna hit like some wineries and
they're going to
Goldendale, Washington. Next up,
18th and 19th September. Also the Northwest chapter. They're doing their HPDE.
God, these guys and their names.
Bologna.
Again, I'm sure if I were like a Northwest chapter guy, I'd be like, oh yeah, Bologna.
Yeah,
dude, chill
of
out.
course. I mean,
but
it's probably like Sasquatch.
They got some rough names to pronounce if you've never been there. But anyway, Oregon Raceway Park is what you need to know. It probably should be Oregon, not Oregon, but I'm an East Coaster, so sue me.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, we don't know dates yet. Rocky Mountain Prestige Oktoberfest.
Okay, so Prestige Oktoberfest.
This is late September.
This is late September. We don't have a date for this yet, but this is actually one of the dealerships that they deal. The Rocky Mountain chapter deals with.
They do an Oktoberfest event.
So they do. This is Prestige Motorsports.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Prestige Motors. They also have a Porsche store, but it's an Audi store dealership that they've worked with for years, and they have their own Oktoberfest. So that's going on sometime in late September.
Okay. Then last weekend of September.
Last weekend of September.
H2O International.
H2O, and this time in Atlantic. Well, last year was
they moved to
Atlantic,
New
Jersey.
After a year off, moved to Atlantic City. So
Exactly.
make a long story short, used to happen in Ocean City, Maryland. Nothing to do with the earthquake last weekend. And then offshore, and although an earthquake of their own, it became a big thing where everybody would cruise and hit these different get-togethers.
Ocean City was, if you've never been to Ocean City, Maryland,
it's a cruising town.
It's a cruising town.
Yeah.
I mean, man, the road is just like straight, long.
A lot of red lights,
exactly.
A lot of places to stop and meet up, and there were a lot of meetups that would happen, planned on the internet.
It's an ocean.
I'll tell you, one of my favorite parts was like either driving around to houses that people had rented, or going to like the B2 get together or the B5 get together at this
Civic Center
bar
or whatever.
Right.
So
I missed that element of it, and that doesn't happen anymore in Atlantic City. But anyway, that got unruly, and they got kicked out of Ocean City. Ocean City didn't really want them back, so Jay moved it to Atlantic City, which is where Steamboat, Showboat, Casino,
hotel last year. So this was also another big show, East Coast show, doing a transition. So we were set up. It was interesting because we were in a parking garage.
Mainly, most of the event is in a parking garage.
All the show cars
by the Steamboat, which is Showboat, which is no longer a casino. It's just a hotel. And then, but right there on the boardwalk, for what it's worth, I mean, Atlantic City just isn't really walkable like Ocean City, Maryland is. It's a little rough and tumble where it's not. I mean, it's got its nice areas, but they're mainly around the casinos.
Yep.
So you just need to be careful around Atlantic City. I mean, it's good people live there. It's just it's had some rough years, but anyway, they were in the garage, and then the
big
vendors, which there weren't that many vendors.
There weren't going to be many vendors this year, but
I wonder how they'll expand that next year. Because if they had more vendors, I don't think they'd fit out there. They're in the pull-up area for the hotel, if you will.
So yeah, exactly. Where you pull up in that big circle to unload your luggage and whatnot. The NGP was the
New
main
German
spot.
Performance had a big spread there, and a couple other smaller vendors around them. But that took up the whole space. They do Top Dog, which is DAWG. It's a little cheesy of a name, but it's for the best built cars, and this is pretty prestigious among people who build custom cars.
Oh yeah, if you got that sticker on that was it Saturday?
I think they get then you get
the big ass barbecue when they used to have that.
If you get the sticker Saturday, you can pull down on Sunday.
And so it was a prestigious just to get the sticker.
And again, like Waterfest, these are if you're into either performance for track or you're into like classic cars, purism, then don't go because it's modified, it's bagged, it's there's a lot of
the paint work on some of these cars is unbelievable.
Yeah, so. But you have to be into modified cars. If you're not, just be aware.
If you're a purist,
nah.
But I think Jay Shupin runs the show. It was a transition year, so attendance was down a bit, but there were some quality cars out there, and like I said,
I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged to see it came back stronger than I thought it would, and I think it'll be stronger.
And quite frankly, not to offend anybody, Atlantic City is not my favorite place, but I want to go back. I mean, I think they did. It's only going to get, as the word gets out, it's only going to get bigger. I believe in and good luck to Jay because we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We had a great
So moving on to October. So here's where really quick. I don't see it on your list, but I think that first weekend is the Carolinas Fall Drive, which sounds. I mean, it's a big deal. I've never attended it, but I think it's a big. I saw a lot on social media this year from them. They do a big kind of. It's not like it's not quite on the level of like
Quattro de Mayo, but it is similar. It's a
big deal.
Vein to it. Yes, and I think they're going to be. I know. And sorry, John and Dell. I know where you are going to be. I just can't think of it off the top of my head.
If we don't know, we don't know.
Hey, we'll update our website.
Yeah. So look it up if you're curious. But that's again Carolinas. But here's where this gets. October starts to get crowded. That next weekend, the 12th and 13th, there are several events going on. One of them, we think the date has not been announced yet, is Radwood, which is the 80s, 90s car show. This is not an Audi specific event by any means. But obviously 80s and 90s are great eras at Audi, and or quattros are well loved at that event. So that one happened in Philly at the Navy. There are several Redwoods, by the way, throughout the year.
Oh, there's LA, there's
Yeah, and I don't know that we
Cincinnati.
have their full calendar. Look that up if you're curious in 80s, 90s. People dress up in that way. They drive their cars in the 80s and 90s. Really cool events that have kind of popped up for people who are just kind of coming of age of like, as it, harken back to the 80s and 90s as their classic car era. So cool stuff comes out. But the Navy Yard, the Philadelphia Navy Yard is where Redwood happens. And that's probably, we believe, that 12th and 13th weekend of Columbus Day weekend.
Right, because we ran into
Conflict this year.
last year. Yep.
Yeah, it's worth leading in with that because we've also got that same weekend is a Vontoberfest, which Dan Gray, Brian Sladkey, a couple other guys up in the Northeast put this event on. It starts at Lime Rock on Saturday morning.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's just, they're not on track or anything at Lime Rock. No, Lime Rock is hot at that. Like they had
other car clubs out there were driving.
Yeah, just weekend drive. But they meet up there in the morning, and then they make the run up to Stratton, Vermont, which I think only 2 hour. Like if you just ran it straight,
2.5 hours maybe.
Yeah, and it's a straight shot off of whatever route connects the two, and they stop midway at a gas station for a gathering midway, and then they stop again up at Stratton. That is an Oktoberfest weekend in Stratton, and it's so it's a bigger deal than just a Oktoberfest. It gets very packed, so you need to book early if you're going to go. They limit to about 150 cars as well. It's much more laid back, even though it's a driving event on roads. It's much more laid back than Quattro de Mayo. Much less organized in a good way, right? Like it's not. It's just different than Quattro de Mayo. Yeah, it's a little more loose of a calendar, so you can relax a little bit more.
You don't have to show up at Lime Rock in the morning. You could just show up at that.
Yeah, and the other thing I noticed, cars showed up at Lime Rock that didn't join the whole event. Cars also showed up at that midway stop, like that Audi 50 that's in the U.S. The bagged one that at some point was at Rotiform, I privately owned now, the dark blue one. He showed up at the midway stop, and that's the only time I saw him. And then up in Stratton, we saw more cars. So anyway, they meet in up there that day at Stratton Mountain. They go to the beer fest that afternoon. They meet in one of the Stratton Mountain, like the Stratton Mountain Shop restaurant zone,
that we went down.
kind of designed to be like Vail, Colorado. It's pretty hip and cool. And they had a little pub. We met in the downtown, or down below. They rented out the floor down below, and that was all people from the event. Next day they go to Mounts Equinox, which is like an enclosed. You have to pay to get on that road. It's a monastery that runs it and owns the mountain, I guess. Yeah. That they do a hill climb there in the summer, and the Land Rover Range Rover does like a 4x4 course up a trail on that mountain. But really great. You can see like 3 states from up there if it's not foggy.
If it's not foggy.
Which it was foggy this year.
It was extremely foggy, but man, let me tell you, some of that photography that came out, that was pretty awesome.
And then you head back to Stratton. Then you close out. I think they have an evening thing, and then this year the house that they had rented that was pretty rad. And then Monday is Columbus Day. Now that same weekend again, there's a wealth of things to do. So Philly, you got Redwood. Vontoberfest, you got Lime Rock up to Stratton, Vermont. And then in Western Pennsylvania, we believe, again, we haven't seen the final date yet, but there's Oktoberfest that's put on by Josh Volk of Next Level Tuning, Western PA chapter. And he's active. Yeah, and that's at Seven Springs, which is like a big Pittsburgh area ski resort that's owned by one of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they have an Oktoberfest, and it's like they have a greater Oktoberfest event, beer fest, that kind of thing, and activities, outdoor activities, and then Oktoberfest, the car show is within that is one of the parking lots on the mountaintop there at Seven Springs. Also near Seven Springs, just worth noting if you're in the area and you brought your family who aren't that into cars, one, they have a lot of public transportation around the mountains, so they can go to the events at Seven Springs while you're at the car show, or if you want to make a weekend of it.
Fall festival going on down there.
And then on top of that, within like 20 minutes drive, you have like Frank Lloyd Wright's Falling Water, you have Frank Lloyd Wright's Kentuck Knob, both within like a couple of miles of each other. You have Ohio Pile State Park with a lot of outdoor kind of sporting activities, whitewater rafting. It might be a little late in the year for that. It might be a little cold.
Chilly.
Yeah, not too far. You have that. Remember I mentioned earlier with Carlisle, the guys who go and ride that abandoned area of the Turnpike. That's probably like an hour and a half away, but really great area of Pennsylvania. And some neat old hotels that are up that way. So you can make a weekend of it there. Now, why I mention that is because any one of those events gets you in the Northeast and gets you doing some really cool things. Because the following weekend, so that was the weekend of the 12th, 13th, and 14th if you count Columbus Day.
So there's 12 and 13, which is Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, 14th is Columbus Day.
14th.
16th to the 20th is the Audi Club National Gathering.
Yes.
And this year that's in Washington, D.C., hosted by the Potomac chapter. So that will be hosted out of Leesburg, Virginia, at Lansdowne Resort. They're going to have they're going to be doing another HPD at
one day HPD at Summit Point. But I mean that's just one of the.
They've just started planning that. But what are they looking at? What an Annapolis day trip?
Annapolis dinner. Yep, day trip.
A couple drives.
Shake and bake.
Around. No, it's
that's shake and bake.
Some pie tour or something.
I'm sorry.
Shakes and breaks, dude. Get your mind out of the. Whatever.
No, shake and bake. I'm talking about chicken, man.
Anyway, so there's that. They're going to do, I think, Spy Museum in the Capitol.
Oh, that's right.
They're going to have a lot of interactivity with Audi of America because Audi of America is there in Herndon, Virginia. So different.
And it's their 50th anniversary.
Yeah, it's going to replace the open house we do annually too.
Yeah.
We usually do every year. We usually do an open house at Audi of America where product planners will show cool cars that aren't out yet and whatever else. We're hoping to integrate that into the event. So hopefully some like evening, cocktails with like this product planner or that product planner. And there'll be a car show that Saturday with what we're hoping to do is an event that's sort of tech seminar type thing that will emulate Porsche Club's Tech Tactics event. So seminars maybe from like tire manufacturers like Pirelli or from tuners or from, whatever from Audi of America maybe. But like talking about different technical aspects and for the nerds who are into the technology of these cars, should be an excellent add-on to that car show, which will all be on Saturday. So again,
there's going to be a lot of events.
Yeah, you could make, and the point is you can make a week out of this. You might, if you can get the week off, I know it's in the fall, kids have school, but it is also Columbus Day week. You could start the week at either Radwood in Philly. You could start the week. My personal choice, I love you guys. I love you guys at Oktoberfest, but Avanttoberfest had such a great time this year, and it was fresh for me, and I would love to get my family up to Vermont that time of year.
So you'll be doing Avanttoberfest, I'll be doing Oktoberfest.
Maybe, yeah, and
then we got to get ready for the national.
Well, it'll be nuts. But I mean, for the just the fan or enthusiast looking to have a good week, you could start at Radwood, you could start at Avanttoberfest, you could start at Oktoberfest. Take a day or two. The national starts on Wednesday, and you have Monday off. So you got Monday and Tuesday really to play with if you do any of these events. And then you could do that area of Pennsylvania. If you're Western PA, hit Frank Lloyd Wright's locations.
Yeah, I want to do that.
Dude, Falling Water, so cool. Johnny and I did all that last year too. So I'm not I kind of want to go up to Vermont now, But yeah, you can't go wrong with any one of these. It's just what's your flavor? Like, what do you want to do? A little bit of a longer drive, and then there's also Ted Dannemiller likes to do his
Ted
and Bud,
the Tourist Trophy of America.
Kind of a rally, and I think they're going to start from St. Louis and drive that in. So whatever you can make it. Dude.
Sorry.
Steel cup on my laptop. No. Anyway, you can make a week out of it. You have like 4 options there if you want to make a week out of it, and I'm totally going to make a week out of it. I'm just not sure which one yet. But for me, probably Avanttoberfest or Oktoberfest. I don't know. Radwood, haven't done it yet. Need to get to one at some point. Again, we haven't seen final dates for that. Hoping Brad and the team at Radwood can keep that on that weekend. But we'll pass that information on as we get closer to it.
I mean, like I said, we'll keep updating our events calendar throughout the year. So
that's
keep an eye out for that one.
That's a crazy busy month, but should be really fun. I'm really looking forward to that week.
It's gonna be like May.
Yeah.
Down in Georgia. I mean, it's gonna be a packed week.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is I'm trying to figure out I totally want to get my 4000 kind of ready. Maybe get NGP to get the suspension all done because. So yeah, so
you have until October.
But I'm not going to take it up to Vermont. We'll probably swing back through and grab it and take it to DC.
To Vermont either.
But
probably could make it there, but I don't know if you want to drive it up Mount Equinox. So.
Yeah, no, it'll break. It'll be one of those cars that broke on the way up. Yeah, that's for sure. So November, we got to wrap this up anyway, but we're getting nearly done now. November 2 to 3 HPD again at Northwest Quattro Fest. I know what this one is named, and Portland International Raceway. Do we have anything in December yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
I mean, December is when most of the chapters do their holiday parties.
Yeah.
And whatnot.
Yeah, in October, November, you get SEMA. If you're in the industry, you get in
that's
SEMA.
right,
That's
SEMA.
fun.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, there's,
A
like
lot.
I said, yeah.
there's a lot to do, and so yeah, that's the year, and I'm sure we've missed some. So
Oh, I know we missed a lot, but it's like for us, like for you guys, it's the beginning of the year.
yeah, watch the magazine for the calendar. We'll be updating that issue to issue. That comes out quarterly. So we've got that, and
And speaking of which, we did redesign on the magazine.
well, yeah, let's let them see that. We'll touch on that in another
Oh,
in
yeah.
another
But-
episode, if you will.
Let us know.
Yeah, let us know what you think, and also if you have ideas on things with the podcast, we're hoping to do interviews with some other people, whether it's people in the club, people out of the club, people in the corporate racing. I'm gonna be
People
down
in
at
the
Daytona next
industry,
week.
you know, like the tuner aftermarket industry.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I'm gonna be down at Rolex next week, so hopefully we can catch up with like Brad Kettler or Lena or maybe some of the drivers. Or I know I'm going to be catching up with Sam Dobbins from More the More and photographer, really cool guy. So you never know who we'll run into, and I'd love to do more episodes with. We will try and get our equipment sorted because right now we're literally recording through the mic in my MacBook Pro, which I'm sure is awful. But at least the guys next door sawing logs
They're not sawing logs anymore.
didn't start up again.
Exactly.
No
The
more
traffic
police
has
cars.
been okay.
Yeah.
Front.
So yeah, we'll hope to have better equipment here shortly, and otherwise, that is it. Thanks
Hey,
for joining us on this first.
Thank you, and thanks for staying with us this long.
Yeah, if you're still with us, this painfully long, listening to guys wax on about events, really. No, but thanks again, and let us know what you think.
All right. Have a good day.